I am Kamali, taking you through the stories people are talking about and sharing around the world on Newsfeed today. How did a picture in a newspaper lead to Jeremy Corbyn and Benjamin Netanyahu exchanging angry tweets? Google knows where you are even when your privacy settings are turned up to 11.
The problem is that the more companies know about you, and location is a very important part of this, the easier they can influence you.
Buses and baubles, we take you to Pakistan and show you some pimped out public transport. And the mass rescue of cats and dogs from the California wildfire captured on camera. All right, top of our newsfeed, Google that wants to know where you are so badly it records your movements even when you explicitly tell it not to do so. Now, many Google services on both Android and iPhone store your location data even when you've got your privacy settings up to the max.
For the most part, Google is upfront about asking permission to use your location information. An app like Google Maps will remind you to allow access to location if you use it for navigating. If you agree to let it record your location over time, Google Maps will display that history for you in a timeline that maps out your daily movements. The company will let you pause a setting called Location History. Google says that will prevent the company from remembering where you've been.
So right now it's set to detect my location, so it's sharing my location automatically wherever I go. That's what I've chosen. But let's say I want to hide. I can simply click here on hide your location, and now no one can see my location. My location is not being reported from the phone.
Well, that appears to be a lie. Some Google apps automatically store time-stamped location data without asking. For example, Google stores a snapshot of where you are when you merely open its Maps app. Automatic daily weather updates on Android phones pinpoint roughly where you are. And some searches that have nothing to do with location, like chocolate chip cookies or kids' science kits, pinpoint your precise latitude and longitude, accurate to the square foot, and save it to your Google account.
Many apps require location data to function. There's nothing wrong with this, but you have to be very upfront with what you're doing with that data, and you have to allow people to opt out.
Google says it's being perfectly clear.
There are a number of different ways that Google may use location to improve people's experiences, including location history, web and app activity, and through device-level location services. We provide clear descriptions of these tools and robust controls so people can turn them on or off and delete their histories at any time.
Big tech companies are under increasing scrutiny over their data practices, following a series of privacy scandals at Facebook and new data privacy rules recently adopted by the European Union.
There's a discrepancy between what people can understand and what companies are doing.
The privacy issue affects some 2 billion users of devices that run Google's Android operating software and hundreds of millions of worldwide iPhone users who rely on Google for maps or search.
Well, now to tell you about the online beef between Corbyn and Netanyahu. Now, one is an opposition leader in the United Kingdom, the other is the Prime Minister of Israel. And because Mr. Corbyn and his Labour Party in Britain can't seem to properly address claims of anti-Semitism, Mr. Netanyahu has tweeted his criticism after a picture of Corbyn was published by a British newspaper. Then Mr. Corbyn tweeted him back.
The photos that kicked it off, Jeremy Corbyn at a wreath-laying ceremony in Tunisia for victims of an Israeli airstrike on the PLO's embassy, he said, but now admits wreaths were also laid for those behind the infamous Munich terror attack and subsequently assassinated by Israel. He denied it at the time, but on Monday, this.
A wreath was indeed laid by some of those who attended the conference of those that were killed in Paris in 1992.
Were you involved in that wreath laying?
I was present when it was laid. I don't think I was actually involved in it.
Cue lots of online sniggering from his critics about smoking but not inhaling. Then on Monday, this from the Israeli Prime Minister. The laying of a wreath by Jeremy Corbyn on the graves of terrorists who perpetrated the Munich massacre and his comparison of Israel to the Nazis deserves unequivocal condemnation. Corbyn fired back with more criticism of Israeli actions in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's claims about my actions and words are false. what deserves unequivocal condemnation is the killing of over 160 Palestinian protesters by Israeli forces since March. Corbyn has long supported the Palestinian cause, but for months has faced claims of anti-Semitism. Last week, a 2013 video emerged of him comparing Israel's actions in the occupied West Bank with those used by the Nazis. And his party's refusal to adopt an internationally accepted protocol on anti-Semitism has made matters worse. The issue has dominated the British press, but the Twitter fight with Netanyahu has taken it to another level altogether.
Let's take a look at what else has been trending on social media. Now, the world's most Liverpool city has been announced, and apparently it's Vienna in Austria. Last year's winner, Melbourne in Australia, tweeted its congrats, saying they're not greedy and it was time to give another city a turn. Well, an Aussie journalist had some fun saying, sure, Mozart, Beethoven, Brahms, Haydn, Mahler, Liszt and Strauss 1 and 2 all lived in Vienna, but where did Joe Dolce choose to record Shut Up Your Face? Yep, in Melbourne. A girl has tweeted the love letters her parents wrote to each other during their long-distance relationship 21 years ago. Now, they're in Chinese, and some people on the internet have been very impressed by the whole thing. I wonder if her parents are as impressed that their private correspondence has been shared with thousands of people. And the guy singing in this video that's had more than 2 million views is about to go on a tour of the United States. He's been doing this on the subway for 38 years and will now take his show on the road. Take a listen.
Still more.
Now, there's a bizarre case going through the courts in the US state of New Mexico. It involves the son and daughters of one of America's best-known imams, child abuse, claims of possession, and of course, social media. Here's Isman.
Last Thursday, when a message that we reasonably believe came from an occupant of the compound or somebody with great knowledge of the compound sent a message saying basically that we are starving and the children are starving.
On the 3rd of August, US police raided this compound in the state of New Mexico after a call for help was shared on Facebook. 11 children ranging from ages 1 to 15 were found there starving and filthy. They were held captive and hidden in a basement and were living in what could be described as horrific conditions.
It was disheartening to see that in this day and age that people could live that way. No running water, no electricity. They were in bad shape.
Authorities arrested 2 heavily armed men at the scene, Lucas Morton and Siraj ibn Wahaj. Wahaj was wanted in Georgia for the abduction of his 3-year-old son, Abdul Ghani. The boy's mother last saw him in November when his father said he was taking him to the park. On Monday, investigators found the remains of a young boy in the compound.
Yesterday at 11:19 a.m., we did find remains of a young boy. Those have been turned over to the Office of Medical Investigations. No positive identification of that child has been made at this time. Their independent autopsy and investigation will conclude that.
But after interrogating the father, police think the 3-year-old boy may have died during an exorcism ritual. According to the child's mum, he was suffering from chronic illness and seizures. His father believed he was possessed by the devil. But why exactly were 11 children kept in a remote compound, starved and cut off from the rest of the world? Authorities revealed that Wahaj, his wife and his 2 sisters are part of a dark cult. They pretend that their actions were God's orders. Police also said that the sect was training some of the children to carry out school shootings. Wahaj is the son of a prominent African-American cleric, Imam Siraj Wahaj. The latest alerted the police on the location of the compound after receiving a plea for help from his daughter's friend on Facebook.
About maybe 4 days ago, I got a call from a brother Abdul Rashid in Atlanta, Georgia. He said Sapana reached out to him and said that we need some food, we're starving. So he called me. What I do, I said find out where we should send the food. We're gonna send the food and then the information. She did, and we gave it to the police. That's why the police came in because information that we gave them.
The suspects were each charged with 11 counts of child abuse related to the neglect and abuse of the children. But on Tuesday, the court decided to release them on bail until their trial.
Well, Mexican authorities have taken to Twitter to boast about a huge seizure of drugs. The Secretaría de Marina tweeted a video of them chasing a speedboat off the coast of Guerrero. As you can see, once the boat reaches the shore, the people on board flee and the officers swarm in. 2 tons of cocaine were captured. Around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Tuesday. Now, Peter Strzok used to work for the FBI. He was fired yesterday for sending text messages which showed he was dead against Donald Trump becoming president. And Trump tweeted how pleased he was to learn of the firing. He, of course, added his usual lines about witch hunts, no collusion, and no obstruction. And former Agent Strzok has now launched a GoFundMe page to cover his legal costs and his loss of income. 346 social media accounts will be investigated by Turkish authorities for posts which may have attempted to exacerbate the currency crisis. Istanbul's public prosecutors have opened probes into those that published what they say was fake news threatening economic security. This is what it will look like to board SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule. This video was put on Twitter by one of the handful of journalists allowed to see the new craft. The aerospace company, owned by billionaire bloke Elon Musk, will be building these and making new spacesuits for NASA, and they could be used in test missions from 2019. Now, buses in most countries are purely utilitarian, boring, slow, and not great to look at. But in Pakistan, there's something else.
बस ही शौक नाल काम करते हैं और प्यार नाल काम करते हैं जो लोग तकते हैं वो कहते हैं यार अच्छी गड्डी है इस नाल फिर असां और खुशी होंदी है
जब मैं पढ़ता था ये गाड़ियाँ आती जाती थी मैं देखता रहूँ तो मेरी शौक बन गई कि मैं भी ये गाड़ी चलाऊँ फिर मैं ड्राइवरी करने लग गया हूँ अब मैं ये ड्राइवरी खुद कर रहा हूँ ये मेरी अपनी गाड़ी है
साड़ी गड्डी जो हम तकने ना खूबसूरत गड्डी और साड़ी गड्डी का इंतजार कर देना यार किस वक्त गड्डी आती इस तरह से बह के सफ़र कर सकते
हमारा दिल खुश होता है हम देखते हैं कितनी अच्छी बसें हैं हमारे रोड पे
बस इस तरह यार असी गड्डी पाम तो के आगे पीछे या इस तरह गड्डी दूर खिला रहा घर तो घर भी जाने हैं साढ़ा ध्यान इधर ही होता है कि गड्डी इस तरह से साइड से खिला रहे हैं कोई पता नहीं सुबह जुला के होवे उस नाल कोई सा नुकसान ना बचा सके
आने आया मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा सवारी लोग आने वो चीज़ इससे छत्ता की सवारी वो बड़ी बैठी है वो बड़ी सवारी है तोड़ नहीं पहुँचे कोई चीज़ टायर पंचर हो सी क्लच दबा दे सी कोई टायर फट को लाजमी हो सी के तो लग चलती गड्डी ज़्यादा सवारी लगती आया कि गड्डी ज़्यादा बैग है असल नहीं बैठ
नहीं इस तरह जलने ने बस कभी कभार असा नहीं लड़ाई हो जलनी है छोटे मोटे झगड़े भी कभी कभार हो गए
उसी कोई चीज़ देख असा शौक लग सी यार इस ला के तो असी अच्छी बढ़ा करना जो चीज़ अस मिली उस कोशिश कर दसो कि कितों मिली उस तो बाद के 200 रुपये असी 500 रुपये ला सक साड़ी गड्डी का ज़्यादा शौक हो और ख्वाहिश है कि खूबसूरत लगे लाजम
मैं बहुत अच्छा फील करता हूँ इन बसेस में बैठ के नो डाउट आज के 2018 जा रहा है लेकिन बहुत सारी फैसिलिटीज़ आ गई हैं लेकिन इन बसों की डेकोरेशन वगैरह देख के मतलब दिल को तस्कीन मिलती है इनके कलरफुल बसेस डिज़ाइन देख के दिल को तस्कीन होती है मतलब आंखों को अच्छा लगता है
मतलब सफाई करनी पैनी रोजाना धोना पैना ऐसा कपड़ा मारना पैना और मतलब देखभाल लगे पीछे बिजली वर्कशॉप बड़े लंच करने में उसके बावजूद संभालनी मुश्किल है पर शौक है शौक नाल फिर मुश्किल तो होंगी बस साड़ी यही ख्वाहिश है ड्राइवरी की बस ड्राइवर बना सब तो ज़्यादा सही ख्वाहिश है
And we will leave you today with some great video of the rescue of 60 cats and dogs from an animal shelter in California. Now, the shelter was in the path of the wildfires, and so police and fire crews sprang into action. Take a look. That is your lot from the Newsfeed team. Reach out to me with your questions, comments, complaints and suggestions. I'm at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on Twitter, YouTube and Facebook. Follow, subscribe and add. See you again tomorrow.